They say on the battlefield, don't stick your head out, because you never know if it's a rocket or a drone flying at you. This squad of mercenaries in front of us experienced it all. After planning their objective in a temporary base, they began to crawl out of their hiding spot. To avoid mines, they formed a single file, stepping in the footprints of the person ahead, moving cautiously across the open field. But ahead of this Ukrainian squad, a Russian unit was already lying in ambush. The sudden sound of distant gunfire instantly made everyone's heart tighten. The squad had no choice but to brave the increasingly dense gunfire and nearby explosions, desperately rushing towards a trench and diving in. Inside the trench, unsure of the Russian movements, the soldiers huddled in a corner, afraid to peek out. But the Russians clearly wouldn't let them go. Explosions went off one after another right beside them. Those were rockets, which meant the enemy was close. They didn't want to be sitting ducks, but the moment one of them peeked out, a deadly Russian-made RPG came whistling in. The narrow trench was instantly filled with painful screams, choking dust, and the smell of blood. What was more terrifying, the signature buzzing of a drone sounded right above their heads, scaring the soldiers into a stream of curses. Facing this precise and deadly aerial strike, resistance was futile. In the chaos, the soldiers decided to retreat, desperately running back to their temporary base. But a few soldiers who were further ahead, deep inside the trench, were left behind due to the suppressive fire. Some of the wounded were in critical condition. A few soldiers tried to figure out a way to rescue them, otherwise, they would surely die. On the way back, shells continuously exploded nearby. But just as they were about to reach their base, they discovered it was already locked down by Russian fire. With no other choice, they had to turn and hide in another building to take cover. The Russian pursuit was relentless. Just as they rushed inside, rockets followed close behind. A soldier, looking for cover, was nearly taken out by an RPG. The violent explosion shook the entire building, filling it with dust, and a suffocating feeling swept over them. Even knowing the risk of being buried alive, the instinct for survival drove them into a cellar deep inside the house. Every massive explosion overhead made the hearts of those huddled in the cellar lurch. They could only hold their breath and silently pray not to be discovered. But shells continued to hit the house. The staircase collapsed under the heavy impacts, completely burying the cellar entrance. This Ukrainian unit was buried alive in the cellar. It wasn't until the Russians were clearing the battlefield that this combat footage was recovered. Within a single day, it was either drones overhead or rockets to the face.